Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. I know it has been such a long time since I last posted. I think I'm finally coming up with a solid routine for me to be able to post more consistently. So yeah, moving on. I know this looks a little different from like a regular reading. And I know I've seen people do like art and channeled messages, and I don't know if people have done like coloring and channeled messages, but that's what we're doing today. So let me know if you guys like this. I know it's going to be a little different because you're not going to actually see the cards, but don't worry, I am going to still do cards and stuff like that. This is just, I've been really like inspired lately to practice with my coloring and improving on my I'm not going to talk about it. That's not what we here. But anyway, so the theme of this reading is anger. Now, I remember with this theme, I had like woke up and I was immediately angry. I don't even remember what the dream was about. I just remember I woke up immediately angry. And sometimes like when I wake up and I remember certain dreams, I write things down so that way I can have it in my head for later because I know I'm going to forget. So I wrote down like, you know, like the reading that I did and stuff like that. So I'm going to be reading like a little bit of my notes and things. And so what I wrote down was, you did everything right to be in this person's or people's circle and you were just never accepted. They refused to acknowledge you as one of them. Now that's that's what this theme is about. It's about like anger, feeling like a sense of grief, a sense of loss, things like that, like, right? And I wanted to talk about the colors that I picked. Now, mind you, I was a little hesitant on using these colors, but I was like, you know what? That's the colors I chose. Because in the art community, there's this thing where you do like the 3 marker challenge. And basically, I just threw the markers on my bed and I just picked random colors, right? I closed my eyes and picked the random colors. And even though there's 3 colors, there's technically 2. There's 2 shades of green and one and a brown, right? Which is so surprising because those colors are so connected, right? They're more connected than we think, you know? And with the color green, that deals with our heart chakra, right? It deals with love, even self-love. And that's what we're going to be talking about, more so like with self-love today, right? It allows you to release that grief that you feel from feeling a sense of loss, right? It's all about like nature, right? Connecting with nature, healing, new beginnings, balance, things like that. And especially with brown is all about connecting with Mother Nature, connecting with earth, right? Regrounding ourselves, stability, right? A sense of security. Again, we're going to talk about that resilience, getting back from all these troubling times and rebuilding ourselves, you know? Now, lately what I have been doing with my readings is I also have been listening to music, because sometimes certain songs will have messages in them, and I have been adding that into my readings. My readings have been advancing a little bit here. But so the one song that had came up when I hit shuffle, it was Selfish. Now sometimes I'm gonna be honest, sometimes the songs, they just don't make no sense at all. But this song in particular, this has like, the song itself has nothing to do with this reading, but there was one thing in the song where he's saying over and over, like, this time I'm gonna be selfish, right? Because he's talking about love, right? And what I got from that was like, it's time for you to be selfish with your energy, right? I'm gonna say that again. It's time for you to be selfish with your energy, right? And I'm reading off like the things that I have wrote down, because I already knew that once I pulled out them cards, I was going to forget. So I'm gonna just read off what I wrote and, you know, put my own little spin on it or whatever. Obviously, because it's my handwriting. All right, anyway, so I wrote down, all you wanted was acceptance, and they just took and took, leaving you with nothing left. Nothing at all. And Spirit is telling you, like, don't close off your heart, right? Like, they don't want you to close your heart off too much just yet, right? But they want you to be mindful of who you give your energy to, who you give yourself to, right? One of the things that popped up in this reading was how much you wanted to share your knowledge, share the wealth. Like I said in my previous reading, sharing the wealth, right? You wanted to share what you have learned, you know? And Spirit is telling you, you weren't meant to share your gifts with them, right? You were not meant to share your gifts with them. They weren't your soul tribe. And as I said previously, I believe in my other reading, is like a lot of people lately have been searching for their soul tribe, their sense of belonging, their safe haven, a safe space for them to be comfortable and be themselves. And with these people, right, they kind of like gave you this illusion that they were your safe space. They were your sense of a sense of belonging, right? They gave you that sense of belonging. Now with these people could be anybody. This could be somebody you work with. This could be like friends, your relationship, family, things like that, right? But in reality, and you might have known these people for such a long time, and like I said, in reality, these people are not your safe space, right? They're more so, are jealous. And you've been noticing this too, right? They're jealous. They're envious. They're envious of you and your knowledge, your talents, your freedom. And that was the one thing too, like your talents, things that you are good at, that they wish that they were good at, right? And it hurts. When you're realizing that they're giving you the side eye. Like one of the examples that popped up in my head was somebody like who's great at storytelling. Now we'll just use that example. Somebody who's great at storytelling, right? And they're so good at storytelling. They hear from everybody else. Or they're like, you're so good at telling stories. You should really write a book. And then when you go, right, and you share that with somebody, with the people that you trust, they're just a little like, yeah, you're okay, like they're being a little snarky about it, they're a little like side-eyeing you. But in reality, the reason why they're doing that is because they too themselves wish that they were good at storytelling, so they can, I guess you could say, capitalize off of that, right? Because that's what everybody wants to do nowadays. They want to capitalize off their talents most of the time. And with you just want to do it because you're good at it, right? You love that's your passion, and they wish that they had your passion, right? And like I said, it hurts. And most of the time with certain people, especially for whoever is listening to this reading, it might keep you up at night, right? It might keep you up at night where you're like, damn, like I don't understand why they're just so, I don't want to say hateful, but why they're just so, they don't want to like accept me. Like I've done everything right to be in their space, and they just seem to still hate me. Why? Right? And Spirit wants you to know is because you were not meant to share your knowledge with them, right? They're not meant to know what you know. Right? All you wanted to do was just share what you know, be a part of them. And Spirit's like, they're not meant to know what you know. They're not meant to have what you have. Eventually they will, but they're not in the mental headspace. They're not in the correct state. Like they're not in the part of their lives right now to have what you have, right? And Spirit says, save what you have, because you're so quick to want to share. You want to find this place, and it's okay to want that. But Spirit's like, hey, we got you. We understand. We understand you want to have your soul tribe. We understand you want to have your people, but save it for the right people. The right people will come, right? The right people will come. Right, so I also pulled out some oracle cards, and I'm going to tell what I got from those as well. So it was saying, once you are able to sit down and let that anger and frustration go, because you're getting frustrated, right? You're getting frustrated because you're doing everything right, and they just still are just not accepting you for who you are. It seems like there's always a problem. It seems like nothing is ever going right? And they said, once you let go of that anger and frustration, your abilities, like again, we're going to use that storytelling scenario. Once you let those things go, your abilities of storytelling will advance, because you probably have been, I don't want to say laid back a little bit with this, but you probably have been slacking a little bit. A lack of discipline is what's been going on, right? You've been struggling to have that sense of regrounding yourself and regaining control of, like, your situation, and maybe you're supposed to be writing a book, right? And you're having certain deadlines, and you keep missing those deadlines because you're having this lack of discipline with yourself, because you're so focused on trying to be accepted with these people. And it's frustrating you. And that frustration is causing you to slow down in a wrong way, right? And you're getting frustrated. And Spirit's like, replace that anger with love and understanding. Now, I understand. Like, no, it's not your responsibility to understand and to point out their wrongdoings and the harm that they are doing to not just themselves, right? But it's also to other people, because yes, they're hurting you, but they could also be hurting other people and themselves. But at the end of the day, right, having an understanding will help you have a better outlook on not just yourself but others going forward, right? Again, it is not your responsibility, but for you and your mental development, your mental health, right, being able to have this type of understanding, it's always good to have a good level of emotional intelligence, if that makes sense. I know I was kind of talking in circles a little bit there. And you can recognize the behaviors of not just others for what they were doing, right? You'll be able to take that knowledge from what you learned about how they are handling certain situations, and you can apply that to others and yourself. Because there might be a time when you're doing something and you're like, hold on, I'm doing the same exact thing that they're doing. And then going forward, what you're going to do, you're going to be able to learn. You're going to be able to readapt yourself, reapply, right? Reground yourself here. You get what I'm saying? And yeah, like, Spirit just really wants you to wants you to know that things are going to be fine. You are going to find your soul tribe. You know, you are going to find your place of belonging. It sucks not being able to find your place of belonging, because that's what a lot of people want now. You know, it feels like everything is just falling apart, right, in the world, and everybody's just kind of like scrambling around. They're kind of walking around like with headless chickens, you know, you don't know what you're doing, and people are scared. You know, people are scared. People are struggling to have like a sense of understanding, a sense of belonging, and you're just trying to do what's best for you. And Spirit's like, it's okay. It's going to happen. It's not like, yeah, shit is terrible. I'm gonna be honest. Shit is terrible. But right now, they just want you to slow down. They want you to reconnect with not just yourself, but also reconnect with your heart chakra. Your heart chakra needs a little bit of healing, because again, you're frustrated, right? But you can't improve yourself when you're constantly frustrated, and they want you to do just a little bit of shadow work on that, right? And to kind of close this reading off here, and there was a deck that I've had for quite some time, and I'm so glad that I pulled out from this deck because I haven't used it at all. But the card that came out, it said approving of myself, right? We're approving of ourselves. Today, I will let go of my need for approval and my need to be liked. Instead, I will choose to like and approve of myself. The people who count, including me, including yourself, right, will respect me when I'm true to who I really am. Let me repeat that again. All right, let me repeat it again. Today, I will let go of my need for approval and my need to be liked. Instead, I will choose to like and approve of myself. The people who count, including me, will respect me when I'm true to who I really am, right? Again, going back to that, this time I'm going to be selfish. They want you to be just a little selfish of you, yourself, your energy, right? Who you are giving yourself to, right? It's okay to, want to have a sense of belonging, a sense of sharing, but be mindful who we are sharing, right? Who we are sharing the knowledge, our talents, our energy with. You feel me? So I hope you guys enjoyed that reading, and I hope you guys enjoyed my little coloring session. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out when I post new things and new videos and things like that. And let me know what you guys think about this types of reading. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.